Well, I wanted to get this video out a lot sooner, but as it turns out, after a long day at work and researching some stuff for this game, I fell asleep. And then, there are like 2-3 videos already out on this game, but I spent I spent so much time preparing this and looking at this game and its historic context that I'm still gonna make the video. So this is Fabiano Caruana with white, the challenger to the world title this coming November, and he's playing the #1 female player in the world, 3-time world female champion Hou Yifan. Now those who are more familiar with Chinese names, maybe you can help me out. I always call her Hou Yifan, but in databases it's actually Yifan Hou. So which one is correct? Her Wikipedia page says Hou Yifan, but in ChessBase and databases you have Yifan Hou. Yifan as the first name, Hou as the last name. So maybe you can help me out with that in the comments. But this was in a way a possibly historic match. Now I did some research, and if I'm not mistaken, last year in Grenke, the Grenke Chess Classic, Hou Yifan had the white pieces against Fabiano Caruana, who at the time was rated 28-17. So I think that is the highest rated player that a female player has ever defeated in a classical game. Now mind you, Judit Polgar, who is, I think, still, probably will be, the best female player ever. In 2002, she beat Garry Kasparov in a rapid game. So not a classical game. So again, this is something you can research and help me out with. I think Hou Yifan has the record for beating the highest rated male player ever in a classical game. But yeah, but this is historic because if she had won this game, this would be the highest rated black scalp of a female player ever. So highest rated black win. But you probably already know the result, but this was a cracking game. So Caruana opened with e4, and no surprises here. e4, e5, knight f3, knight f6, the Petrov. And this is what Hou Yifan has been playing, so no surprises. We already saw a very nice grind by Aniskiri against Hou Yifan in Grenke, and many other games where Yifan is playing with the black pieces. Now I hope, yeah, the video is still okay, I think. So okay, mainline Petrov, knight takes e5, knight f3. So we follow theory, and this is sort of the post-millennium way to play for white here for an advantage. Knight to c3. White accepts the double pawns here, but hopes to get quick development with the bishop on e3, sometimes on f4. But in this game we see an interesting concept for black if the bishop is on e3. Castles, queen d2. White wants to castle queenside, and then in some cases throw his or her pawns forward and get an attack. Knight d7, castles, and knight f6. So black claims that this is the best square for the knight. More natural was maybe knight c6 in one move, but by spending 2 moves here, black claims that this is the best square, getting the knight to the king side to fortify the position there. And also we have this threat of, well, not a big threat, but knight g4 is sometimes on the agenda, and Caruana plays h3, so no knight g4, and also he's preparing to start pushing g4. And now I really like black's concept here with c5. This prepares to start to push some pawns on the queen side, and also it restricts white in that you don't have access to this d4 square for your pieces. There's no bishop d4, no knight d4. But you have to work some things out, because at the bishop f4 your pawn on d6 is backwards and it's attacked 3 times. So how do you deal with it? Actually, you don't deal with it, you deal with it indirectly with bishop to e6. Another nice move. Now for some reason I've seen other videos where this isn't addressed, and this should be addressed. The pawn on d6 is hanging. What happens if we take it? Well, I think it's time to fire up the analysis board. If bishop takes d6, black will take. And now we have two choices, either take on d6 or play queen a5. Queen a5 probably stronger. But just to show that white can't take on d6, even queen takes d6 is strong here, because rook takes allows knight e4. And white doesn't have any good way to deal with a double attack on the knight and the pawn on f2. So this explains why Fabi didn't take. He played a3. And okay, hopefully I have an old computer, but it's we're working on it. d5. Now this bishop e6 allowed black to get this nice pawn duo here, and already black might even be for choice here. A very solid position. Knight g5 from Fabi, and the bishop must move back, but it doesn't mind going to c6, which it did in the game. After g4, bishop to c6, bishop to g2 by white, and now rook to e8, coming to the open file. And yeah, this looks really solid for black. After queen d3, here Hou Yifan had some choices. She played bishop d6, but h6 was also interesting. Speaking of interesting, Fabi could possibly play h4 here, but it looks like a good position for black. At one point, if he doesn't play h4, like let's say knight f3, then knight e4 is a problem. Again, this pawn, it's so hard to defend it, and if you put the queen on the e file, e2 or e3, then like any bishop move, now you're threatening knight here. The queen is in the line of fire of the rook, so you would have to move it again. And then queen b6, we have some sacrifices coming up here. This is a great position for black. But Yifan played bishop d6. Now queen to g3 by Fabi. We have an exchange, and now h6 kicking the knight, and queen b8, which actually does force the queen trade. If queen d2, knight e4, you can't cover this. If you go to the e file, there is knight g3 or knight takes c3, depending on circumstances. So this is winning for black. So the queen must be taken on b8, and that's what happened. And this doesn't look like much. Now knight d2 by Fabi, and rook e2, rook h2 f1, and b6. And well, here and in several other positions, I was wondering why Fabi didn't. He could have done so earlier. Why he didn't play c4 to try and get rid of the double pawns? But for some reason he didn't like it, and I think it's definitely an option here to play c4. But he went with rook d to e1, and now we have trade of rooks, king d1, the rook goes back. Still c4 looks like an option. I'm not sure if he was trying to keep some tension in the position, but this is definitely not better for white. f4. Now good endgame technique, you bring the king to the center of the board. We have an endgame going, king e7, and after rook takes e6, a pure endgame. With two minor pieces for each side. And now watch as Hou Yifan increases her space advantage. I mean, this pawn duo is quite nice, takes up a lot of squares in the white camp. And after king e2, g5. Now f5 is not a strategically feasible move. If you play f5, you have all these pawns on light squares, and both sides have a light squared bishop, and this would benefit black in that he could attack the pawns, and h5 already would target this pawn. So taking is probably better, which is what Fabi did. And now knight f3. Otherwise the king gets the e5 square. So black has some space advantage here to work with. f6. Protecting the pawn. Now we can move the knight and increase our advantage with f5. So still a slight advantage for black here. So more space, and now the king can penetrate. So this is definitely only black who's playing for a win here. We have a better pawn structure. We have some weaknesses for white that we can work on. And yeah, better placed pieces in general. White is just defending here. Knight e1. Now c4. A committal move, but it also restricts white pieces. There's no bishop d3, there's no knight d3. So it looks like very good technique here by Hou Yifan. Knight g2 check, trying to kick the king away, but that's only temporary. Bishop to a4, attacking the pawn, defending, going back. And many times positions like these, the good technique here is kind of to go back and forth, to probe. And that's a little bit of what we're seeing here. And later in the endgame, bishop to g4, bishop to g6, again not probing this diagonal. Bishop e2, attacking c2. The knight defends this time. The knight jumps into e4. So black is trying to probe, you know, attack the weaknesses and see if there's a way forward. And here, finally things start to happen. Bishop e6, attacking this pawn. Caruana goes h4, he wants to trade, but looks like Yifan had an ace up his sleeve here with knight to e4. And now bishop to h3. Now if the pawn were to push here, then g4 check, and this knight can't be protected. So Fabiano has to take on g5, but this allows knight takes g5 with check, and after king g3, this trade here. And now we have 4 versus 4, but on the other hand, Caruana has, no not Caruana, Hou Yifan has the better minor piece, because all the pawns are on the same side. And that means the maneuverability of the bishop is a little bit useless in that case. We often say, you know, pawns on both sides benefits the bishop, but on one side it benefits the knight. And especially here because of this simple knight maneuver to a4, which would probe these pawns. And actually, there's not much I can do about it. And probably Fabi took a good decision here. After king f2, he decided to give up the pawn on b2. He could have played b4 earlier. If you go back, b4 here. My voice is cracking, no. But that would leave him with a lot of weak pawns, and probably he would already lose a pawn. So he decides there's more like granite in this defensive formation. Bishop to h5. And actually, this kind of forces black's hand, because the knight is stranded on b2. So white only needs a few moves here to, well actually it's better to go through e2 to cover d1. White only needs a few moves to trap it, so black is forced to play a6 and b5 here, which he does. And this creates a flight square again on a4, because he blocked the bishop. So bishop h5, the knight comes back. Bishop to f7, knight to c5. And king to c1. Now here or later, black can play d4, but that is similar to what happened in the game, and that's probably drawish. And it turns out that keeping this d pawn is absolute key in most positions. Knight e6. Now white can never trade, because then we have a pawn ending. The king will approach, and black has 2 extra tempos when he wants, if and when he wants, and this will eventually be swang for white. The black king would get to d2, and we win this pawn. So white can never trade the minor pieces. King b2. Now Hou Yifan starts to maneuver her knight. It's covering the d5 pawn, so the king can move in. And here is the critical position. Yifan plays a5, which still should be sufficient. But king d2 was absolutely crushing. And well, you might have seen this by now, but this is just an absolutely fantastic breakthrough idea. And the winning move here is knight to d3. So first, if you take, then d4, forcing this c pawn through. I mean, you see this in it's a very nice endgame idea that you have to know about. And so, whichever way you take, either I take on c3 or I push the other pawn. You can't stop me from getting a pawn on c3. So let's say you take, I play c3, and then the pawn will just queen, and black wins. King b1 doesn't help. We say, well, we maneuver the knight, and now we can start picking up pawns. Then we take this one. Whoops. Okay, let's say bishop a4. You try to defend, but you're just getting zugzwanged here. King d2, and eventually we're pushing the pawns, and there's nothing you can do about it. Okay, let's try something. King b2, d4, king d1, and the point is, another nice idea, knight takes c2 and then d3. And you can either take on d3 when you have a lost endgame, or you can move the bishop and then this is coming. And again, a new queen. So a great opportunity missed here by Hou Yifan. But this still should be winning after a5. King c1 was played. And the key is to keep this pawn here. And I think the winning idea here is either king e2 or king or knight e2. I think knight e2 should be sufficient. King here. Now then we lose this pawn. Oh no. Hang on a minute. Yeah, it's king e2. Bishop here. King e1. Yeah, now if you take this one, I have knight e2. And we keep the d pawn, which is absolute key. Then we take here, and then eventually we can push the pawn. And this is winning for black. But after a5, Yifan started to lose the threat. She played knight e2, king d2, and allowing white to capture this pawn. And losing this pawn means that you can never have a passed d pawn, like pushing it d4, d3, like we saw on some lines. And you also miss these breakthrough ideas. And this is probably just drawn now. Knight takes c3 was played, and the rest of the game was just a lot of back and forth, trying to get some ideas, but there simply are none. Knight e3, okay, hitting c2, so Caruana defends, and even with this huge space advantage, we have a cramping pawn on c3 and an extra pawn. It kind of looks wrong that white can hold this, but it just doesn't seem to be any way. Now that the knight moves away from attacking this, we can defend this with the king. So Yifan tried to maneuver her knight to d4. Eventually she got there. But now king b1, again protecting. And this is such a long diagonal that you can always go back and forth and just protect the pawn on c2. So there's no way to increase the pressure. And okay, Yifan kept trying, but it's very simple to defend here. Whenever the a3 pawn is attacked, you play king a2. Whenever c2 is attacked, you have the king on b1. So okay, here going for some type of zugzwang, but now white can go back and forth with the king, and at the right time you can hope to take on b5, and here was the right time for Fabiano. He took on b5, knight to d4, the knight was attacked, and as the bishop takes a4, there's only one pawn left, and that is enough for white to draw. He will simply sacrifice his bishop for the pawn. So a few back and forth moves, and the final move was c2, and of course, well, they might as well play it out here, and this would have been the logical conclusion. I can't take on a3. It's not a legal move. The computer stops it already. Draw! You can't make a move. So yeah, that was a historic miss by Hou Yifan. This could have been the highest rated player that a woman has ever beat with the black pieces, but it wasn't to be. But she still holds the record for the highest rated player to beat in a classical game, and that was against Caruana last year when he had 28-17. So again, if you find different information, please correct me, but this is what I found when researching the matter. So yeah, but at the top, yeah, a lot of draws today. Carlsen drew as well. MVL drew against Vidugov. So the situation on the top remains unchanged, and we are looking for an exciting finish to this tournament. Round 7 coming up tomorrow, and see you after that one. Bye bye.